Good morning, students. My voice is audible, and can you see my screen? Yes, students, can you reply? Can respond? My voice is audible, and can you see my screen? Yes, students, can you see my screen? Yes, Nayan, can you hear my voice? Yes, students, my voice is audible. Why no one is responding? My voice is audible, students.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. In today's class, we shall discuss about this multi-threaded programming, right? So in today's class, we shall discuss about this multi-threaded programming. As you see that in this program, sorry, you see that in this, we have two words. Multi is one word, thread is second word. When you say multi, the multi stands for more than one. So multi stands for more than one. See, that is, with respect to multi-threaded, what it means we can create more than one thread in a program. That's what the multi states. The word multi says that it is more than one. It says it is more than one, right? So more than one thread, that is, we can create in our program. So let us discuss about the definition of this multi-threaded. What actually this multi-threaded programming means? It says that a multi-threaded program consists of two or more parts. It consists of two or more parts that can run concurrently. Okay. So a multi-threaded programming consists of two or more parts that can run concurrently. And we call each part of such program as a thread. And we call each part of such program as a thread. What it means, see, let us assume this is a program. This is a program. Okay. Let us assume this is your source code. Let us assume this is your source code, right? So when you run your program, by default, we have only one thread. When you run your program, by default, we have only one thread. We have only one thread, and we call that thread as main thread. And we call that thread as main thread, right? When we run the program, by default, we have only one thread, and we call that thread as main thread. Why? As you know that program execution begins from main method. In your program, the program execution begins from main method. Okay, by default, in your program, we have one thread and we call that one thread as main thread. Now, with respect to multi-threaded programming, what we can do, this single program, we can divide into multiple parts. That is, we can divide into part one, part two, and part three. And each part, we can call it as a thread. Each part, we can call it as a thread. Right, students, each part, we can call it as a thread. This is your thread one, this is your thread two, and this is your thread three, right? Now, I hope you understood, right? So each part, you can go into call it as a thread. Now the question comes, why we need to divide a program into multiple parts, or why we need to divide a program into multiple threads? See, let us assume that this is my program. This is my program. Okay, this is my program. And this program, there are several statements are there. This statement one, this is your statement two, this is your statement three, and this is your statement four. And next we have statement five, and next we have statement six. Right? Now let me run this program. If I run the program, statement one is executed, statement two is executed, statement three is executed. Now when I come to statement four, okay, so this statement four is prompting. The statement four is prompting for the user to enter some input. Okay, the statement four is prompting the user to enter some input. Okay, Until user enters an input, I can't continue my execution with this subsequent lines. So subsequent lines that which I represent in blue color cannot execute until the user has provided the desired input. So what's going to happen at this point, that is at this dotted points, my program halts its execution. My program halts its execution until the user is going to provide the desired input. See, as you know that, okay, in order to run the program, we need CPU. Okay, in order to run a program, we need CPU. Okay, when we're trying to use CPU, we need to maximize the utilization of the CPU. We need to maximize the utilization of CPU. We need to maximize the utilization of CPU. We need to maximize. What do you mean maximize the utilization means? In all the times, we should never make your CPU to sit idle. All the times your CPU should run. Okay, all the time your CPU should run. You should not make your CPU to sit idle. As you see that here, when my program is waiting for some input or output operation, in such a case, my CPU is going to become idle. In other words, the CPU is not performing any operation. It is idle until the user has provided a desired input, right? So in order to maximize the CPU utilization, what we can do, we can divide a program into multiple parts. That is part 1, part 2, and part 3. And we can call each part as a thread. Now let us assume that in this part, that is in this part 3, let us assume that my program is waiting for some input operation. The program is waiting for input operation. Since this part 3, that is this thread, is waiting for some input operation, what I can do, I can start executing the first part of the program. So thereby what I can do, I can maximize the CPU utilization. Now let us assume that the first part also is waiting for some input operation. Now, since first part is also waiting for some input operation, what I'll do, I'll start executing the second part. All right. So once I finish executing the second part, let us assume that the input which the part 3 has required has been provided. So therefore, I'll start executing the third part. So once I finish executing the third part, and let us assume that the input which the part 1 has required has been provided. Therefore, I can start executing the first part. So thereby, what I can do, I can maximize the utilization of the CPU. Okay, is it right, student? Is it right, students? You have any questions with this introduction? The main intention of including this multi-threaded programming is we need to maximize the utilization of the CPU. How we can maximize the utilization of the CPU? We can maximize the utilization of the CPU by breaking or by dividing the program into multiple parts. And we call each part as a thread. We call each part as a thread. And each part is said that each part can run concurrently. What do you mean by concurrently? Means parallelly. See, you see that is the program. So I'll represent this. We call this as first thread, we call this as second thread, and we call this as third thread. Okay, this is your first thread, this is your second thread, and this is your third thread. The same thing I'm comparing. Same thing. This is my first thread, this is my second thread, this is my second thread, this is my third thread, and this is my third thread. Okay. A single program we can divide into multiple threads. And all these threads, what we can do, we can run concurrently, means parallelly we can run. So I can run this thread, I can run this thread, I can run this. Parallelly, I can run this thread. Okay, that's what the meaning of concurrent. Okay, that's what it means. See, one more thing. See, in order to run the threads parallelly, we need to have multiple CPUs. Okay, in order to run the thread parallelly, we need multiple CPUs. In generally, with respect to our laptop and desktop, we'll be having only one CPU, right? So if you have one CPU, what's going to happen? Okay, first I'm going to run this thread. First, I'm going to run this thread on the CPU. If my first thread is waiting for some input-output operation, what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch to the second thread, and I'm going to run the second thread in my CPU. Now, if my second thread is waiting for some input-output operation, okay, I'm going to stop the second thread and I'm going to run my third thread. Okay, I'm going to run my third thread. Okay, so once I finish my third thread, let us assume that the input which the first thread has required has been provided. So then I'll start executing my first thread. So now let us assume that first thread has finished its execution. So once the first thread has finished its execution, let us assume that the input which the second thread has required has been provided, and therefore I'll be continuing the execution with respect to my second thread. So like that, what I can do, I can maximize the utilization of the CPU. Okay. Yeah. Any questions, students? Any questions? Any questions? This multi-threading concept is very, very important. This is very, very important. If you say that I know Java, if you say that I know Java, okay, any person will test your knowledge on this multi-threading. Okay, if you're good at multi-threading, it means that you know Java. Okay, you are good at Java. If you are good at multi-threaded programming, it means that it implies that you are good at Java. So this multi-threaded concept is very, very important, which you need to understand, right? Yeah, fine. Now the question comes, how we can create multiple threads in our program? What do you mean multiple threads? You're dividing a program into multiple parts, right? So I'll be representing a thread something like this. This is my first part, this is my second part, and my third part. This is my first thread, and this is my second thread, this is my third thread. So this is my first thread, this is my second thread, this is my third thread. Now, how we can create multiple threads in a program, we are going to discuss right now. Okay, so let me clear my drawings. Let me scroll down to program. Let me scroll down to text. This question is very, very important, what I'm going to discuss right now. So there are two ways we can create a thread. So how to create a thread in a program? So there are two different ways where we can create a thread. And the first way is by implementing the runnable interface. The first way is by implementing the runnable interface. And the second way is by extending thread class. So these are the two different ways where we can create a thread inside our program. Now let us first focus on this runnable interface. Now, what is an interface? Probably you may have doubt. What is an interface? You have studied about classes, right? You have studied about class. You know how to define a class. But along with class, you can see that there is one more new word which you are seeing, that is an interface. So what is in this interface? Let us have a discussion with respect to this interface. So therefore, you can understand about this runnable interface. Now let me try to open a notepad. Let me open a notepad and let me illustrate what is this interface. Okay. Let me share my screen. Yeah. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. Let me increase my font size to 24. Yeah, fine. So I think you know how to define a class. Let me define a class called demo. Generally, what a class is having, generally a class will have instance variable, right? It have instance variables. It has instance variables, and it has method definitions. Okay, generally what a class will have instance variables, it has method definition. So what it means, so let us assume that it has an instance variable called int a, and it has a method definition called void test. Okay? It has a method definition called void test. This is how a class looks like. A class will have an instance variable, it has a method, right? Now let us focus on this interface. Let us focus on this interface. So let me try to do a comparative study between a class and interface. Now, in order to write a class, you're going to begin with the keyword called class and followed by the name of the class. So in order to write an interface, you should not write class. Instead of class, you need to replace class with interface. You have to replace class with interface and followed by the name of the interface. And I'll be using a convention called I. When you prefix I, it means that this is an interface, but it's not mandatory. This is a convention which I follow. Means by seeing the name itself, I can easily make it out that this is nothing but is an interface. Next followed by opening floor brace and closing floor brace. You see that the syntax quite remains same. As you see that the class is begin with the keyword called class followed by the name of the class. Then you're trying to open the floor braces. Then you're trying to close the floor brace. And here also you see that everything remains same. Only one difference is just you replace the name of the class with interface. Now, what an interface contains? The most important difference is an interface contains method declarations. That's very, very important. A interface contains method declaration, but it does not contain definition. What the declaration means that you see that it has a declaration called void test. That's all. An interface will have only method declaration, but it cannot have definition. How many declarations an interface can have? It can have n number of method declarations. There's no constraint. There's no constraint. So right now, with respect to example, I've considered two methods, that is test1 and test2. And one more thing, an interface can also contain constants. It can also contain constants. Okay, but my focus is not towards constant. So an interface contains constants, and not only constants, it also contains method declaration. And there's no constraint that how many constants we can have or how many method declaration we can have. We can have n number of constants and we can have n number of method declaration. But right now, my focus is not towards constants. My focus is towards this methods, right? So right now, this interface is having how many methods? It is having two methods, right? Now, so generally a class is going to implement the methods which is present inside the interface. I repeat, a class is going to implement the methods which is present inside the interface. What I mean to say that, so let us assume that I written a class called example. Now this example wants to implement the methods which is present in this interface. So in order to do that, what I should do, I need to use a keyword called implements. Okay. So my class example is going to implement an interface called iDemo. I'm going to implement an interface called iDemo. Okay, it's going to implement an interface called iDemo. Okay. Next, what I should do, I'll open this floor base and close this floor base. Since my class example is trying to implement an interface called iDemo, it is mandated that my class example has to define these two methods inside this class. What does it mean by defining? That is, I should open this floor base, I should close this floor base. I should open this floor base, I should close this. It's mandatory. So it is mandatory, right? That's very, very important. Okay. So when my class example is trying to implement an interface, it is mandatory that my class example has to implement all the methods which is present in the interface. Right now, with respect to my example, my interface iDemo is having two methods. So therefore, these two methods are implemented inside the class called example. Why? Because my class example is trying to implement an interface called iDemo, right? Now, if let us assume that my interface iDemo is having 10 methods. If it has 10 methods, then it is mandatory that my class example has to implement all these 10 methods inside this class. Since my class example is trying to implement an interface called iDemo. Now let us assume that my class example has failed to implement the second method. Okay. So my class example has failed to implement the second method. In such a case, we say that the class example is an incomplete class. We say that class example is an incomplete class. Why it is an incomplete class? Because my class example has failed to implement the second method, which is present in this interface called iDemo, right? So we call this incomplete class as abstract class. We call this incomplete class as abstract. We call this incomplete class as abstract. Okay, we call incomplete class as abstract class. Why it's an incomplete class? Because the class example has failed to implement the second method, which is present in interface called iDemo. Okay, I hope you understood, right? So therefore, what you should do, so you need to implement the second method inside this class. Since my class example is implementing all the methods which is present in interface called iDemo, it is no more an abstract class, it's a normal class. You have any questions, students, with respect to interface? I hope you understood this interface, right? Yeah. Let me move back to this discussion. Yeah, fine. Now you see that how to create a thread. So in order to create a thread, there are two different ways where we can create a thread. The first way is by implementing an interface called runnable. By implementing an interface called runnable. But second way is by extending a class called thread. So these are two different ways where we can create a thread inside our program. Now let us focus on implementing runnable interface. Now let us focus on how to create a thread by implementing runnable interface. Now let me write a class. Let me write a class called. Let me write a class called my thread. Let me write a class called my thread. Let me write a class called my thread. Okay. Now in order to create a thread, it is mandatory that I need to implement. I need to implement an interface called runnable. So I should write implements implements an interface called runnable. Let me clear. It's mandated that I need to my thread implements. Okay, I should write implements. What I need to implement? I need to implement an interface called runnable. This name, this interface, this entire name I should write it. I should write it runnable. Okay. Just open this floor base. I should close this floor base. Now what method? What method this interface runnable is having? This interface runnable is having a method called run. This interface runnable is having a method called run. So therefore, inside a class called myThread, it is mandatory that I need to implement a method called void run. Therefore, I should write this public. I should write this public void run. I should write it. And I should open this log. I hope you understood the structure. Is it right, students? So in order to create a thread with respect to implementing runnable interface, what we should do, step one, we need to write a class that implements runnable interface. It's a step one. Okay, after implementing the runnable interface and inside this class, what we should do, we need to define the corresponding method, that is public void run. As you write, students. So this is the first part. This is step one. This is the step one. Now, once we do that, next what we should do. So once we do that, next what we should do. That's what it says. Step one. Step one says that after you create a class that implements runnable interface, step two, what we should do. You need to instantiate an object of type thread within the class. Okay, you need to instantiate an object of a type called thread. Is what it says that step one, I've done it. In step two, what I should do, I need to create a thread. Step two, what I should do. Step two, what I should do, I need to create a thread. Step two, I need to create. One second. Let me write here. Step two, what is step two is nothing but step two, I need to create a thread. Step two, I need to create a thread. What is step one? Step one is nothing but we need to create a class that implements runnable interface. I think just now I've written a code, right? Step two, what we should do, we need to create a thread. How to create a thread? In order to create a thread, you need to use the corresponding constructor. And this constructor is present inside the class called thread. Okay, this constructor is present inside the class called thread. Now this constructor is taking two arguments. This is my first argument and this is my second argument. So what the first argument says that the first argument is nothing but it is an instance of a class. The first argument is an instance of a class that implements a runnable interface. What is an instance? An instance is nothing but it's an object, right? So the first argument must be an object of a class. The first argument must be an object of a class that implements runnable interface. So right now I give an example and you see that here there is a class. There's a class called new thread, which is trying to implement an interface called runnable. You see the student implements, the S is very, very important. You should not miss this S. Implements, is that implements, right? That's very, very important, right? Yeah, you see that that's very, very important. Okay, and you see that, let me discuss with this. Okay, what it says that This is nothing but the first argument is nothing but it's an object. What is this? This thread object is nothing but it's an instance of a class that implements a runnable interface. In other words, thread OB is nothing but it is an object. Instance nothing but it's an object. It is object of a class. It is object of a class that implements runnable interface. You see that class new OB implements runnable. So how to create an object of this new thread? In order to create an object, you should write new followed by the name of the class. New thread. Right, students? Now what is this? One second. Now what is this new thread? You see that using new keyword, what we can do? Using new keyword, we can create an object. I've created an object of a class called new thread. I've created an object of a class called new thread, which has implemented runnable interface. And that's what it says. You see that it's nothing but it's an object of a class that implements runnable interface. The first argument is nothing but it's an object of a class that implements runnable interface. If you have any questions, students, at this point, and just you can raise it. You understood the first argument? This is very, very important. You need to understand this, how to create a thread. In order to create a thread in a program, we need to use the corresponding constructor, that is thread. And inside the thread, we need to pass two arguments. The first argument is nothing but is an object of a class that implements runnable interface. You see that here I have created an object called new thread, and this thread is nothing but, you can see that this is nothing but it's an object of a class that implements runnable interface. All right. And what the second argument? The second argument is nothing but it is the name of the thread. As I said that in a program, we can create multiple threads. This is my first thread, this is my second thread, this is my third thread. For each thread, we can give it some name. So let us assume the name of my first thread is 1, and the name of my second thread is 2, and the name of my third thread is 3. Like that, we can give a name to your thread. We can give a name to your thread. How we can give? By passing the second argument. The second argument specifies the name of your thread. And what is the type? It is string. Since it's a string, the name must be placed in double quotes. Okay. Yeah, I hope you understood this. Any questions, students? You can ask. Let me clear all this stuff and let you focus on this. This is very, very important. This is how you are going to create a thread. The first argument is nothing but it is an object of a class that implements a runnable interface. And what's the second argument? The second argument is nothing but it is the name of your thread. For every thread, we can give a name. And the type of this is nothing but it is string. Okay, so these so you can create a thread. So once you create a thread, so let us assume that here I've created a thread. So once you create a thread, the thread should start running. So once you create a thread, the thread should start running. Okay, in order to run the thread, we need to call this start method. Okay, in order to run this thread, what we should do, we need to call this start method. So once you call the start method, the thread will start running. The thread will start running. Now the code the thread should run will be written inside this run method. Okay, and let me show that. Yeah, let's see that. Now let me write here public void and let me open this branch. So inside this we're going to write the code. Inside this we're going to write the code. Okay. Now once the thread will start running, it should execute a code. What code this thread should execute? The code the thread should be executed must be written inside this method called run. Okay. Any code which you write inside this method called run, that code will be executed by your thread. That code will be executed by your thread. Okay. Now how to create a thread? That's very, very important. Step one, what we should do? We need to implement. Step one, what we should do? We need to implement a runnable interface. Just written R. Okay, INT. Step one, we need to implement an interface called runnable interface. And step two, what we should do? Step two, we need to create a thread object. We need to create what we should do. We need to create thread object. We need to create thread object. And step three, what we should do? Once we create a thread object, the thread should start. Next, we need to start the thread. So once you start the thread will start running. So what code the thread will run? The code the thread will run will be specified inside this will be specified inside this run method. Okay. Now, so let me show the code. Okay, let me discuss the code. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen. Yes, you can see my screen, students. Okay. Now, in this program, so now, let us assume this is my source code. Okay, I've divided the source code. This is my source code. Okay, this source code I've divided into two halves. Okay, as I said that by default, in a program, we have a main thread. By default, we have a main thread in our program. By default, we have a main thread in our program. By default, we have main thread. Okay, inside this main thread, I'm going to create a child thread. So this is my child thread. This is my child thread. Okay. Now in this program, I'm going to create two threads. By default, we have one thread, and we call this one thread as main thread. And inside this main thread, I'm going to create a child thread, and this is your child thread. This program is having two threads, right? Now let us go to the program. Now, how to create it? As we know that program execution begins from main method. Program execution begins from main method, and we call this as your main thread. We call this as your main thread. By default, your program will having only by default your program will have one thread, and we call that one thread as main thread. Now inside this main thread, I need to create a child thread. In other words, under this main thread, I need to create a child thread. So how I can create a child thread? In order to create a thread or child thread or thread, what we need to do, we need to write a class. We need to write a class that implements runnable interface. We need to write a class that implements runnable interface. That's my first step. Okay. Now, since this class is implementing runnable interface, what we have to do, this class has to implement a method called run. That's what I said, because runnable interface is having a method called run. So therefore, it is mandated that we need to implement this run method, right? So that's what I've done here. You see that this is a block of code which illustrates the code inside this run method. Okay, there's a block of code. Which illustrates the code inside this run method. This is my first step. Step one is I need to write a class that implements runnable interface. And next, what we should do? Next, we need to implement the method called run method. Okay. Now inside this main thread, I'm creating a child thread by creating an object of this class. I've created an object of a class called new thread. You see that I've created an object of a class called new thread. As you know that once we create an object of a class, the control jumps to the constructor. Is that right, student? So inside the new thread, I have a constructor called new thread. Now inside this constructor, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create a thread. How we can create a thread? Just now discussed. I need to create an object of a thread. And this thread is going to take two arguments. Now, what is the first argument? The first argument is nothing but it's an object of a class that implements runnable interface. And what's the second argument? The second argument is nothing but it is the name of the thread. Now, with respect to the first argument, I've written this. What is this? This is a keyword which points to the current object. Now, this is a keyword. You see that this is a keyword which is pointing to this object. Okay. And what is this new thread? This is nothing but it's an object of a class called new thread, which is implementing a runnable interface. So therefore, they're written here is this. This is a keyword which points to the current object. And what is this object? This object is nothing but it's an object of a class that has implemented runnable interface, followed by the name of the thread. And what is the name of the thread? The name of the thread is nothing but is demo thread, right? I hope you understood this. Now, you have any questions, you can ask. Any questions, students, up to now? You can ask. Any questions? Yeah. So here, this is my step 2. Step 2, what I've done, I've created a thread. Okay. So once you create a thread, what you should do, you see that this entire object is referred by a variable called t. This entire object is referred by a variable called t. And what's the type of t? The type of t is nothing but is thread because I am trying to create a thread object. So therefore, the type of T is thread. So as I said that once we create a thread, what we should do? We need to start the thread. Sorry. Once we create a thread, here I've created the thread. So once we create a thread, we need to start the thread. How to start the thread? In not to start the thread, we need to call the start method. Okay, so that's why I call T.start, means this thread. T refers to the thread. T refers to this thread. Now this thread I want to start. So in not to start this thread, I'll be writing T.start. So once I call T.start, then this thread. And what is the name of this thread? The name of this thread is nothing but is demo thread. Now this thread, that is name of this thread. 1 second. Yeah. Now the name of the thread, that is demo thread, will be start running. Okay. Once I call T.start, then the demo thread will start running. So when the demo thread will start running, it will execute the code which I have written inside this run method. So once I start this thread, it is going to execute the code which I have written inside this run method. Is it right, students? Is it right? Any questions you can ask? Any questions? Any questions? Yes, come on. Any questions? No questions. That's well and good. Okay, fine. Now let us try to see this output. Is the output of this program? Is the output of this program? Let us see how we got this output. Okay, this is the output. This is the output of this program. Okay, now, let us see this. How we got this output. Now, as you know that control execution begins from main method. So here I am trying to create an object of a class called new thread. So once I create an object, the control jumps to this constructor. And inside this constructor, I'm trying to create a thread. So once I create a thread, you see that I've written system.out.println. I'm trying to print child thread :T, means the thread which I've created here. The thread which I've created, I'm trying to print here. Means I'm trying to print the description of this thread. And you see that that's what in the first output, you can see that I'm getting child thread : it's nothing but this T. Okay, and let me change my color. Okay, this thing, thread demo. Is nothing but is a description of my thread. This T is the description of my thread. It says that. So what it says, you'll see that it is a thread. It is a thread. And what's the name of the thread? The name of the thread is demo thread. You'll see that here I given the name as demo thread. You see that I given the name as demo thread. So therefore here I'm getting the name as demo thread, comma 5. And what is this 5? This 5 is nothing that is the priority of the thread. We call this as priority. We call this as priority of the thread. By default, all threads or all child threads will have a priority called 5. By default, we have a priority called 5. And this priority can be changed. Okay, if you want to change, we can change it. By default, the priority of the thread is 5. Now, next followed by main method, means this thread has been created inside my main method. Okay, this thread, that is demo thread, has been created inside my main method. In other words, and then for this demo thread, main is the parent, and that's what I said. Inside this main, okay, inside this main, what I've done, I've created a child thread. That's what. By creating an object of a class, what I've done, I've created a child thread, and that's what the output says. Yeah, I hope you understood this. Is it right, students? That's what you're getting here, main. Okay, that's what here you're getting here, main. Okay, fine. Now, and next what I'm trying to do. So now I'm trying to start my thread by writing T.start. I'm going to start my thread. So what is my thread? Let me put my color. There's my thread. This method. Now you see that now I've started my thread. Now I've reached the end of the constructor. So once I reach the end of the constructor, the control jumps to my main method, right? So this statement has invoked the corresponding constructor. So once I reach the end of the constructor, I'll jump inside my main method. And inside the main method, what's the next statement? The next statement is try block. And inside this try block, I've written a for loop. That for loop, that is I is beginning from 5. I'm checking whether I is greater than 0. You see that here I'm trying to decrement the value of I. That's you need to observe. Okay, I'm trying to decrement the value of I. Now what I'm trying to do next, I'm trying to print the value, that is system.out.println main thread. Okay, this main thread : because your main, why you have taken here, because main is my main thread, so that's why I'm printing main thread : plus I. Now what's the value of I initially? Initially value of I is 5. So therefore you can see that in the output. output, you can see that in the output, you can see that I'm getting